モルペコ、ここだ。
Hey everyone, it's Mark. This is my recap for Pokemon Journeys episode 70. Please catch Morpeko. This was the 1155th episode of the Pokemon anime, and the first time in Pokemon Journeys that we actually got to see Team Rocket catch a new Pokemon. Of course, this would happen right after I post my video ranking all of the Pokemon that Jesse and James have ever caught, but that's okay. I think Morpeko is a nice addition to the family. I wonder where it would end up in the rankings though. The episode starts at Team Rocket's hideout, and Morpeko has eaten them clean out of food once again. They finally hit their breaking point with this thing, and Jesse makes it clear that they're going to get rid of it. James's task was trying to release it back into the wild, but he immediately had his doubts about whether to release this thing. To add on to that, James and Morpeko start to bond closer together than we've seen throughout all of Journey so far. And even after James tries to give it the slip, Morpeko is still there acting all friendly with James. Even though I came into this episode predicting that no one was going to catch Morpeko, this scene alone was already enough to convince me that James was going to end up catching Morpeko by the end of this episode. Since James was unsuccessful trying to get rid of Morpeko in that hilly area, he ends up walking back into Vermilion City with it, and after it turns into hangry mode, he gives it a pile of food to eat and tries to run away again. It stood out to me right away that Team Rocket were just wearing their regular outfits around Vermilion City. I thought they were wanted criminals. I guess that didn't stop Jesse from going grocery shopping though, but their new supply of snacks is quickly eaten after they get back into the hideout only to find Morpeko waiting for them there. They try again the next day and see now they're wearing their casual outfits as disguises. They run into the twerps right as Go catches Eradicate, and they come up with a plan of letting Go catch Morpeko because they know he wants to catch everything. Their plan takes them into a cafe, and does this place look familiar to you by any chance? No? Alright, well shout out to Bulbapedia for this one. Apparently this cafe is the same place that Ash, Iris, and Silent went to when they finally made it to Kanto at the end of the Best Wishes series. Seriously, it's the same place. That's kind of crazy. I mean, last time they were here, Iris and Axew looked like this, but when we just recently saw them, they had each glowed up a little bit. Back to this episode, and Team Rocket's plan of trying to get Go to catch Morpeko doesn't go so well. Actually, I thought they had a good plan when Jessie dressed up like a psychic, but she screwed up and accidentally directed them towards this Pidgeotto that Go had been trying to catch. Team Rocket's plan is actually more successful once they stop actively trying to get rid of Morpeko. It just ends up hopping into the back of a food delivery truck while the four of them are lounging around at a park. And of course, because this is the Pokemon anime, the food delivery ends up at the Cerise Park, and just as Ash and Go get ready to feed all of their Pokemon. By the way, I should point out that it's always a cool scene when Ash and Go's Pokemon in the Cerise Park all come together. We even got our first Lucario sighting in a while. So once they find Morpeko in their food, Lucario and Cinderace get all fired up. I'm assuming they recognized it as Team Rocket's Morpeko, or maybe they were just overprotective of their food. I don't know. Ash and Go didn't seem to recognize the Morpeko too much. Eventually, it's a rivalry renewed as Go's Greedent starts going at it with Morpeko. Its hangry mode rage freaks out the rest of the Pokemon, which gives us this hilarious picture. But leave it to the most helpful Pokemon ever, Go's Raichu, to come save the day. It grabs a ton of berries and feeds them both, and Go does actually try to catch Morpeko, but he fails. Seriously though, Go's Raichu is the most wholesome Pokemon out there. It's just so helpful when it comes to feeding the other Pokemon. And whoa, hold on, a Drizzile sighting? Wow, I was already marking my calendar for it being 10 straight episodes without a sight or sound from this thing, but it ended up only taking 8 episodes before we saw it again. But even still, it was just a cameo. Back at Team Rocket's hideout, James is feeling some kind of way about Morpeko being gone, but Jessie and Meowth are already onto their next villainous operation. Without Morpeko there to distract them or eat all their food, they are actually pretty successful in stealing everyone's Pokemon using that same machine they tried to use back in episode 49. Ash and Go show up to save the day, and things are going as you would expect them to until everyone notices Morpeko's surprise return. It learns Stomping Tantrum out of nowhere, which was a pretty fitting move for this angry Morpeko, but it pretty quickly sends Team Rocket blasting off again with an Aura Wheel. Okay, well so much for that evil plan. Go moves on pretty quickly and finally catches a Pidgeotto, which he's actually been after since episode 6 of Journeys. I actually just started watching the Pokemon Journeys dub for the first time, so I'm binging all of the dub episodes that have been released so far, and it's been cool for me to go back and remember some of the early moments from this series. The episode ends back at the hilly area from before. Team Rocket's blast-off sent them all the way out here, but Morpeko actually came to look for them. This freaks everyone else out, but it kinda touches James's heart, and well, I already showed you the clip of what happened next. Bingo! Clearly, James had grown too close with Morpeko, so he finally made the decision to catch it, which checks off yet another tile on the Elite Trainer Mark bingo card. We're actually getting fairly close to filling out that row. I mean, I've already gone on record saying that I think Chloe's Eevee has a Gigantamax factor, and well, as for the other tile, I was kind of thinking B wouldn't count for that one, and it's more specified towards someone like, I don't know, pick any of the complete randoms Ash has battled so far, but I guess Iris would count for this too. Really, I just can't see how we don't eventually get bingo in that row at some point. I can't believe how fast these tiles are filling up so close to one another. Anyways, the episode ends with Morpeko sending Team Rocket blasting off again for the third time this episode, but at least we get a nice shot of Team Rocket and their Pokemon now. Finally, James isn't alone anymore. Before I dive straight into my thoughts, let's check out the results of a poll I ran on my community tab earlier this week, where I asked you guys who was going to catch Morpeko. It turns out 45% of you were correct. I was a little surprised to see Jesse get so many votes, even more than Go did. I usually post some kind of poll every week on my community tab, and I also post my daily Pokemon facts on there as well. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I'd highly recommend going over to the community tab on my channel. Alright, back to business. I'm giving this episode a 6 out of 10 rating. I thought this was a nice episode. It wasn't anything crazy or revolutionary, so I can't really rate it that highly, but I also have no major complaints about this episode either. James caught Morpeko after 70 episodes of having no Pokemon, making this the first time in 204 episodes since he last caught a Pokemon. Of course, this time around, Morpeko had already been in the picture for most of the series so far, so this episode almost felt more like a formality than anything else. We got to see a lot of James's softer side in this episode, and I always like it when they highlight that. At various points throughout the episode, he was showing remorse for having to get rid of Morpeko, or he was genuinely worried about it. That's how much their bond had grown. And even though Morpeko is kind of a pain and tends to just blast them off over and over, it's not like James isn't used to a little PDA, which of course we know that in Team Rocket's case, that stands for painful display of affection. So yeah, I don't have too much analysis for this episode in all honesty. It was cool to see what Ash and Go's regular days are like when they're not running around region hopping all the time. I mean, not every episode can be them doing something epic. Speaking of which, they are doing something fairly epic in the next episode, and that's kicking off Project Mew. The preview introduced us to Hodaka, the person in charge of Project Mew, and it looks like Asahi is going to assign Go his first trial mission, which is going to be catching in Alolan Ninetales. I guess since it's going to be Go's first trial mission, it'll be fairly easy. I mean, Tsurugi is also going to be there, and we're finally going to get to see that Urshifu vs Regice battle we've been waiting for. But I'm assuming that's going to be part of a trial mission way above Go's level. I think all Go will have to worry about is catching that Alolan Ninetales, which I bet he'll be able to accomplish no problem. With episode 71, we're finally going to have seen everything that was teased back in that special preview trailer almost 2 months ago, and apparently the rumor is that we'll get some fresh hype next week with the debut of a new opening. I'll admit, I'm gonna miss this third version of 1, 2, 3 that we've had recently. It's low-key grown on me to the point that it may be my favorite of the 3 Journeys openings we've had so far. Is the next opening going to be a 4th version of 1, 2, 3, or do you think we'll get an all-new song? Let me know what your guys' predictions are down in the comments, whether it be how Go's trial mission will go, or what we're going to see in the new opening. You can also head over to my Twitter or Discord server if you want to continue the conversation. I want to give one last plug for my Team Rocket's Pokemon Ranked video. If you haven't watched it yet, be sure to check it out and let me know where you think Morpeko will end up ranking one day. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.